This is a video overview of Tier 3 of your lesson planning assessment. This is your final lesson plan and Rebus Flipbook. So teaching teams will have received feedback from your instructor specific to Tier 2, and you're encouraged to make revisions and additions for this final submission of your cooking lesson. Use the documents in the assessment tab as well as Module 7 to support the completion of this assessment. You have your standards and objectives, your materials and supplies. Those are repeat from your previous submissions. Your Rebus Flipbook. For this final step of your lesson planning process, you will include your script, what you're going to say and do, as well as your Rebus Picture Flipbook. And that will support your preschoolers with limited reading skills. Students can complete an image search. You students, as teaching teams, will complete an image search and consider taking pictures of yourself doing these lessons, whichever you prefer. If you want your kids to see your hands and your body doing things, that's great. If you'd like to do an image search online, that's just as well. Definition of Rebus, just a reminder, is a representation of words with pictures or of objects or of symbols that represent the names, the written word for your children. Your conclusion and transition. Your conclusion, remember, includes a reinforcement of one of your objectives. Your transition is how you're transitioning your children away from your lesson. And your reference citations, you know you have a total of 5. Your Rebus Picture Book, you're going to choose to create either a full sheet or a half sheet. Just use an 8.5 by 11. You do not need to illustrate this, although that would be another option. But remember that you need the images and the text. So a bowl of flour, and the word underneath would be flour. How many images are included for each? The steps will be determined by you. Take time to reference the sample lesson plan document for support. And before submitting your lesson plan, as always, take the time to read it for spelling and grammar, and ensure that your steps are sequential, and the Rebus pictures support each of those steps. This is your final lesson plan document that you will be submitting. It is a familiar format as it has now been reviewed in several ways throughout this project. And finally, again, please take the time to review the rubric. This is how your team will be graded. You have your procedures as far as your introduction, the lesson itself, your conclusion, critical thinking opportunities for the children, your Rebus Picture Book, objectives are evident, divergent questions are easily identifiable with the underlining in the bold, and then your grammar and mechanics as far as standard written English and APA are included. Always helpful to look at the assessment supplement and the rubric, working with your teaching partner to ensure that you have a clear path of your steps to complete this final tier of the project. If you have any questions, you are encouraged to connect with your teaching partner and/or your instructor.